I'm Scottie Woodcock, a graduate of Brownsville High School in 1951. My growing up, basically remembering my childhood as much as anything, is how firm my dad was and how smart they were. They raised 6 kids, all turned out real good, and they had a book to go by, and it was called the Holy Bible, and he didn't spare the rod. Had different jobs in here, and then I left and got a job in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina, and I realized how it was to be away from home, and then we got married later. We fell in love. She was a waitress, I was a dishwasher, 50 cents an hour. I'd never been out of the state. I'd been to the Grand Ole Opry.
Anyway, he was a long way from home with people he knew that he traveled with up there. And most of the people that were working up there were new to him. And I guess they all kind of tried to push us together from day one. Because it looked like a match, I guess. But anyway, it has been a good match, and I must say that.
Athlete, and Scottie was a tremendous athlete. I'd heard about him, and I'd heard the good things about Scottie and the bad things about Scottie, about like missing a layup that Kyrock beat Brownsville, but Brownsville beat Kyrock so many times that I heard that and I liked it. I liked it, him missing that layup. But he was such a good athlete that it really, really got into him.
We got married. I lived down there for about 6 months. And then one morning I turned to Ethel and I said, "Pack your clothes, we're going home. We're going to Kentucky."
I remember, of course, we always would go to the mountains because that's where Mom's people were from. And coming back sometime, us kids were throwing paper out the window of the car. And Dad, of course, he fusses at us, and I think everybody quit but me, and I kept throwing paper out. So he stops on the road, and he puts me out of the car. And I'm standing in the road, and he's driving away. I mean, and I start bawling and squalling. It's like, they're leaving me. They always said I was adopted, and now I believe it, you know. And but then he did stop and come back and get me, you know. But that's one of them.
I looked over at the store and thought how I'd love to have a business over there. And my dream was, if I could run that business for 25 years and save $1,000 a year, I'd be worth $25,000.
Pretty much, you know, just what I said. A lot of people would gather there. They could watch television or sit up front and watch people, you know, in the square. And they played practical jokes on each other all the time at the store.
When I was a kid and come in the store, Western Auto, he was always busy which was a good thing. Of course, he loved us and he would always have time for us, but Dad, when we lived on Washington Street, he was very busy working for, having a business, raising 4 children, and keeping a household up. And but he's also busy working for Brownsville and Edmonson County. He was with the Western Auto Store, which that was a full-time job. He worked with the Bank of Edmonson County as a director, and then he and several other people worked with Mammoth Cave and getting them more involved in the county. And also he developed the fire department. He really helped on that. There was a really old fire truck, and he was crucial in helping get that new fire truck in Brownsville in 1963, I believe. And he was very proud of that. He was always middle of the night, alarm would go off for the fire, Dad would be gone.
I felt like they had the perfect unit, you know. They were both very independent, and they worked together at the store. And I often marveled at how they spent so much time together and still supported each other, and you know, they would listen to each other and just work together to make the best of things.
I went through the process. I sold the station. I took the money I had from that. I borrowed the money from my dad. I borrowed money from the bank, and I floor planned everything. And the very day that I got the merchandise in for my store, crater's load. I was dead like everything. The gimlet come out, and Rock officially closed that day.
One day when I got to be principal, and he said, Mr. Vincent, calling me Mr. Vincent, he said, is there anything you need out there? I said, well, not really, but the coach would like to have one of these videos, you know, where you can video the game. That was new then, John. Of course, now then it's old stuff. But he said, I'll see what I can do. So he called me back and said, I got the best on the market.
And that was the biggest employment we had in the county at that time. Now here I am starting out with a new business, and the biggest industry is shut down. So it was a tough fight. But my wife and I, we worked together and we pulled through, and we made a success out of it.
Well, I would say when I was 15 years old, I started working with Don Scher here in the funeral home. And Scottie and Dom were really good friends. And you know, he had just gone into the Western Auto Store business. And that's basically the first things that I remember about Scottie and everything. He was just a super guy, great personality.
He knows everybody. And when my father was in the bank and Scottie was in Western Auto, if Dad had a customer he had any question about or anything, he would call the store and ask Scottie if he could come up to the bank for a few minutes.
He is still today. I've seen him tried many, many times. Scottie is the ambassador of goodwill for Brownsville. I don't care where you took him, and I've traveled with him some to different places, and where he went or who he met, the first thing out of his mouth, he would be trying to build Brownsville up.
Well, I had been in so much, but being a director, and I went in as chairman of the board, and then working with Sarah was at that time the senior loan officer. Of course, Gene was president, went in as president. And knowing them as I did know, it was slow to begin with, just a little bit, but it wasn't long. Sarah and I both, we would loan any amount at the bank then. And sometimes you won't believe it, I would wait on 20 people and probably answer the phone 100 times, you know, because we had a community bank.
One of the funniest things I think that ever happened was when Sarah was still working at the bank, and she and Scottie had offices next door to each other, and we were all on the loan committee, and that was before the days of appraisers being so prevalent. And we would go out in the afternoons once a week and look at property. And so we had been told that one of these customers had a boa at their home, and we weren't going to go in. And we had laughed about that and talked about it. And one afternoon, Sarah had been out of her office, and so Scottie took the vacuum cleaner hose and coiled it up and put it in her desk chair.
I have to say this. When we lost our son, if it hadn't been for the people of Edmonson County and my church, I couldn't have pulled through it. I got to the point that I really didn't think well. But by the godly people and the people of Edmonson County, and I come out of it stronger. Well, people would come and come to my home and have prayer with us and encourage us, you know. And then there's a certain element probably didn't, but that's life, you know, and I accepted that. But my wife were very strong Christians, and we totally depend on the Lord during that time.